Did it? Yeah. On the safe side.
Sure.
Five.
All right, so we're gonna open the meeting. Everybody good? All right. Who do we have on?
No, because we on Paris.
Okay. You want to skip item 1 and go to item 2 then?
Sure.
All right, so we're gonna start off with the agenda item 2,
I didn't get the agenda in my.
the annual report.
Oh, there's Karis.
All right.
Hi, Karis, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Great.
Nice to see you also.
We love your sweater.
Thank you. Nice
You-
to
Right.
see you all.
Nice to see you too.
All right, so we're gonna jump back to agenda item 1,
Correct.
right? So
Yes.
we can, Karis can move on to her next meeting.
Yes.
We're gonna talk about the Mendon landfill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tom and Karis.
Yeah, I mean, I could start it, Roman. Not sure how much information you've been given so far, Karis, from Jack. But we had a couple of situations with a private property, actually is what it is now. At one time, many years ago, it used to be an old landfill in the town of Mendon.
Mhm.
Since along about the time of mid-early 2000s, the landfill requires testing on a regular basis for groundwater and soil gas monitoring.
Yep.
That's done either quarterly or semi-annually, depending on the test. And in addition to, we have a requirement that necessitates the landfill being inspected periodically. I want to say every 2 years, I believe, right? Just kind of report into Mass DEP. And one of the, what kind of came up recently is we were looking at from the most recent inspection that was done. The project manager from the company that we work with had mentioned that the inspector had noticed some issues with the land, some compressions or small sinkhole areas in the land.
Okay.
And we had our highway surveyor go up last week to take a gander at it. And what came out of that conversation was where the responsibility lies legally for maintaining or correcting issues with the property, given that it is, private property owned by an individual. So at the moment, we're kind of in a stalemate. That's one thing we're trying to determine from a legal perspective. Does the town of Mendon have the responsibility for maintaining the land or any issues that might arise? I will tell you that the land itself was comprised of different areas, different parcels within the land that was utilized in a combination of ways. There was areas used by the town many years ago as a landfill. And then there were a couple of other areas that were utilized by the landowner at the time for another venture.
Okay.
Landfill. Landfill
Yeah.
venture.
Landfill, yeah, landfill function.
Yeah, he was trying to take trash from out of town and dump it on his property and get paid mucho bucks.
Yep, sure. Absolutely. Okay. So, yep, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so what ensued, and Joyce might be able to have all the detail here. There was a court case that arose out of this situation back in the 80s. Where basically the Board of Health at that time had sought an injunction for the landowner to stop doing what they were doing. Because they were in, and as a result of that too, the landowner also ceased allowing the town to utilize the property any further as a landfill to, dump residents' trash.
Mhm.
So from the court case that took place, the court determined that there was responsibility for certain sections of land that were deemed to be the responsibility of the town of Mendon. because we had an agreement with the landowner, a lease agreement, to use portions of land. And they also deemed responsibility for two other portions of land belonged to the landowner, because the landowner was using two other pieces for his own personal operation, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So, so we kind of have a little bit of a, now that we know that there's some issues in certain areas of the land that need to be corrected and addressed, I guess the question is here, is that the responsibility of the town of Mendon, or where would our responsibility lie? Or is the responsibility here with the landowner? And try to
So-
address.
So to answer that question, I need the court case documents. I
Yep.
need the lease with the town. I need the inspection report, and I need whatever the surveyor provided in terms of a report. And we, depending on that information, there may need to be a survey. It sounds like the court divided up the responsibility, and we need to ascertain, which portion of the landfill, at least as a preliminary question, which portion of the landfill is having the problem. And then we may also need to ascertain if any other portions of the landfill are impacted or are causing or affecting the problem. So I need to look at all those documents.
Yeah,
And then I can, schedule a time to come back and have another discussion with you. So I think we can talk about that, if you can get me those documents, we can talk about it more in January once I've had a chance to take a look at them.
okay.
Can I talk to you a minute? Now, when I was reading this and we were talking about it the last meeting, I think we talked about it, that the real problem is that some of the well housing areas have just sunk a little bit. Is that?
And not even necessarily where the well is, but areas on the land that have depressions.
Uh-huh,
So it's deficiencies in the cap.
Right.
I would call that.
Yes.
right. Okay, I wanted to make sure that what I'm thinking is, what's what, in
Yeah.
the scheme of things.
Right. And it, whose responsibility it is for the cap, or how responsibility for maintaining the cap is assigned. I need to look at those documents, and I probably need to take a look at the regulations in place at the time, or even the current regulations, which I can certainly grab on my own. I don't need you to get those for me. And then, we might also want to have a conversation with DEP. Has any of this been reported to DEP?
Yeah, DEP's been pretty steadily involved in this process for,
Okay,
it's probably kicked up back around 2018. And we've had pretty good, fairly steady conversations over the last 5 or 6 years with DEP, going back and forth on different issues.
okay,
So we have a very good rapport with them, so.
okay. To the extent there is communications with DEP that you think are important for me to take a look at, I would add them to what you send to me, because maybe they've made some determinations about this. And then, frankly, I want to be careful. I don't know if this is going to involve a dispute with the landowner or not. So I want to think about how to have the next conversation.
Right. The other aspect of this with regard to trying to align responsibility here is when we had looked back at what the courts decided when they identified basically 5 sections on a map.
Yep.
And they identified 3 areas that they deemed to be the responsibility of the town of Mendon, and 2 areas the responsibility of the landowner. Well, ever since the testing has been going on, the town of Mendon has been paying for testing for everything. So so basically what you have is you have test wells that are positioned in different parcels on that property. Some of these test wells are on sections that were deemed to be responsibility of the landowner, and other wells are on sections that were deemed to be the responsibility of the town of Mendon.
Yep.
And I think what happened was the testing actually was supposed to start back in the eighties after the closure plan was accepted by
Yep.
DEP. And so the landfill itself was closed. There was some, it was part of the request was to put in 3 test wells. That's since been increased, but then what happened was actual testing didn't actually begin until mid 2000s. I think it was one of those things that kind of just fell through the cracks. And what ended up happening was there's an abutter who is adjacent to the land, who, when they bought the property back in the early 2000s, 2003, 2004, they weren't aware or weren't informed that the property they were abutting used to be a landfill. The verbiage from what they were told was that it was just a farm. So this abutter didn't find out until a year or two afterwards that the land that they abut was actually a former landfill. So in doing some investigating and making some calls, they ended up actually reaching out to DEP, and that's what generated the realization from DEP that, wow, we don't have any test results from Minden. And then come to find out they had implemented a
Non-compliance.
non-compliance to
Yep.
the town.
Yep, a
And
notice of
at-
non-compliance.
Yeah, so at that point, we realized, oh, okay, so we worked with DEP and we got things in order, and eventually the wells were positioned, the testing started. So the testing's only been going on in earnest for about, 16 years, whereas the plan way back was it would, was estimated to be at least 30 years of testing.
Why
But-
don't you also get me a copy of that notice of non-compliance if you have that as well?
We do.
Not that, that would also be helpful to take a look at. I'd be interested to see what DEP ordered and, to whom it ordered.
Yeah. And the last element that I can think of, and I'll let you folks speak to it, if I missed something. Right now, the company that we work with that does the testing and is doing the inspections, they provided us an access agreement. And we were
Yep.
debating, not, kind of talking about the legality there and if that's something that we needed to actually implement or have implemented. It was kind of interesting because the document kind of outlines what what's involved, and it would be a access agreement that the landowner theoretically would sign. Actually, an option as part of the document, the landowner could check the box yes to acknowledge they accept the access agreement, or
Mhm.
there was to check no. And in thinking about it, we kind of had a discussion, how could the landowner actually check no, because these tests and the inspections are DEP mandated,
Right,
so they kind of have to take place.
right, but what's happened is they never had to do it before. They never took any responsibility at all. Or,
I'm just waiting my turn. I'm raising my hand.
I thought you were telling me to stop.
No, absolutely not, Jess.
They have never, ever taken the responsibility for the whole thing. When we were in court, I was there in court at that time, and, we won, and he was like, okay, you won, but we are not gonna be able to do anything here at our property ever again. So he closed the landfill right then and there, right after the court, so we
Mhm.
were never there again. And I left the board, after a few years, and to my knowledge, I mean, he never did anything. He's never taken responsibility for that, doing that, whole thing, either.
Did Mendon then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, Garish, go ahead. I'll wait.
Was Mendon then the one that actually closed the landfill in the regulatory sense with DEP, or was the landowner involved in that?
He wasn't really involved. I mean, he didn't pay for anything in terms of that, that was quite an expense of, putting so much, everything had to have,
Yep.
So much fill, so much of a cap area that had to be.
Right, and so many wells driven and all that sort of stuff, but Ed, I was there when we did that. That was the last, probably the last thing that I, was in charge of, was doing that. And, he, and again, never anything, in my opinion.
Understood, okay.
Now he's deceased.
But he has heirs, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
the salt started back in the 50s when it came to fruition, and it went up from the 50s into the 70s. Eventually it closed, and so there's quite a history to it.
Alan?
Yeah, if I may, Karis, I just want to touch on a few points. First of all, the town did have a lease agreement to use the property. They never took ownership of the property in order to use it as a landfill, but they did supply someone to operate it, to monitor it when it was being used by the townspeople only. And simultaneously, the landowner was operating an own commercial enterprise. And at one point, I believe he may not have had a permit to do so. He was taking trash in from the city of Boston.
Right.
So he sort of had his own separate legal issues. The other thing is both husband and wife are deceased. And the third thing is that piece of property that abuts it was part of the original property and was sold to the woman that we spoke about by the son of the landowner. So obviously, when the son built the house, he was well aware of the situation. It just never passed on to this woman that bought it in the early 2000s. Thank you.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, this is,
That's it in a nutshell.
Well, again, just to go back to what Tom was saying, or actually Jack was saying,
Alan?
Alan, God, been a long day.
It's okay.
Was that he was running a pig farm, and he was bringing in all kinds of natural, food stuff for the pigs, and at the same time they were burying it under the ground when they didn't eat it all, and so that was still part of our landfill. When we went back in there in the late 50s or early 60s, I think we started our landfill there. And we paid it, we were
Yep.
paying for it. He wasn't doing it out of the goodness of his heart.
oh, no, I'm sure he was not.
I also believe that the reason the town has been paying to do all the testing, not just on the parcels that were designated our responsibility by the court, was because if we didn't, it wasn't going to get done. They really weren't that agreeable to the situation after the legal battle. And the town had to be in compliance. They already had the guy out there. If the guy's going to test 3 sets of wells or 5 sets of wells, the town, if they weren't going to get any cooperation from the landowner, the town really had to kind of do it. It kind of defaulted to us. It wasn't. Go ahead.
Well, and depending on, the statute that responsibility is assessed under, liability could be joint and several. So, I don't know the answer to that yet, but that's, a possibility. So yes, that you're right, that it may very well have been, but that doesn't mean the town can't seek, some sort of contribution from the landowner for the costs incurred. And certainly, I don't think you want to, again, have to figure out where the issues are in the cap, but, replacing a cap isn't chicken scratch. It's not pig feed to not going to cost pig feed to fix. So let's
Right,
figure out how to
fortunately-
get the town in a good situation.
Fortunately, right now, the deficiencies aren't that bad.
Okay.
But our high surveyor's concern is that's private property.
Yep.
So to be doing work on private property, at this point, it really has nothing to do with dollars and cents. It has to do with what we can do legally and what we can't do legally.
Yeah.
As
And
far as the highway surveyor repairing these small deficiencies.
yeah, and you can't enter private property to do anything without permission or a court order or, something like that. So again, let me assess the issue. Let's talk about, and then let's come back and talk about next steps and strategies for moving forward. I need to get a better sense of the background and how responsibility has been allocated, and then and a sense of the problem going forward in the short term. And I think we should also think about the long term, because I want to help you put the town in the best possible position, but also understanding this is work that's important to get done.
One of the thoughts that we had is potentially, and I don't know what the likelihood is of being able to go back, but moving forward at some point, the thought is if there's could be a mechanism for actually dividing the responsibility of the cost for the testing moving forward at some point. And again, that, we may find that when we look at the numbers, it may be a case where it's inconsequential if you're basically breaking the cost down. There's what, six well locations on the property, and 3 or 4 of them fall on the town of Mendon land, and another couple fall on what was designated the responsibility of the landowner. When you break it down by location, it may be insignificant as far as money.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
but again, this may be I want you to be careful and think about, this may be the beginning of a larger problem. So, let's also think about the long term, and maybe that's something ultimately we have to ask the inspector to think about or opine on. I just don't know.
It's possible this property could end up being sold.
Is it possible?
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of the original landowner and his wife having passed. So we would want to make sure that anything that's in place, we're going to be able to continue on if there's a new owner. So we've talked with the Board of Assessors to make sure that there's a notation on the property card. Because we don't want to have a new owner take over the property and us get shut out from trying to do what we're told we have to do.
Or them being surprised with what they have to do. And what they had there before, that they weren't even let know what was there in that all those 70 years.
Yeah, it may be that there are documents that you might want to think about recording relating to, the parcel ID or addresses for both public and private, so that anybody has notice who's doing, deed research aside from just what's on the assessor's parcel. So
Well,
we can I'll think about that a little bit too.
funny, interesting, you mentioned that, and one of our staff folks had taken a look at the registry of deeds
Mhm.
out of county, Worcester County, and searching through hundreds of different documents and references to parcels, and could not see anything anywhere where it was ever noted that that property was ever utilized as a landfill in the past. The only reference lied locally on the assessor's card, where the note originally that had been there basically just talked about a rear parcel of the land being used for the landfill. And the reality is almost all of the land was used for the landfill. So.
Yep, sorry.
Yeah.
The other thing actually that would be helpful would, if there are addresses assigned to the town's parcel and the private parcel, I would like to have those as well, so that, again, looking at deeds, I might have, somebody take a further look at that. But typically stuff with DEP is required to be recorded. So I find that interesting. And, you know, is another way, like I said, is another way to put information into the public domain.
Yeah.
So people have notice.
I was gonna say the parcel of land only has one address for all of the parcels. It's comprised of this only. And then from the court documents, they basically using kind of a old photographic.
Yep.
Yeah. They were able to identify the parcels that they associated with the town of Mendon being responsible for, and those parcels that would be associated with the landowner for. So, but it's all one address.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Send me the assessor's card too, just so I have it. You know, you never know what you're gonna need. Okay. I think there's a bunch of things I want to take a look at and think about. And then I'll reach back out to Jack to, schedule, another time. When is your, January meeting?
Well,
You
our
have a
next
date?
January 10th, but I think that'd be a little too early for you.
Yeah, that's too soon.
And the next one after that would be January 24th.
Okay. I will take a look at my calendar and see if that's, a good, opportunity to try to make that meeting. And, I'll let Jack know about that as well.
Great, excellent.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I'm off after tomorrow until the 2nd. So hope, get me the documents, when you can, and then I'll start looking at them when I get back, in January.
That sounds good.
All right. Have a lovely holiday and a happy new year.
If you have any questions that I can help you with from the back in the day things, Jack can give you my phone number too, because I'm very happy to help you with that too, if you need.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Karis.
All right. Take care. Have a good night. Thank you.
Dismissed. Where's Colleen? Is she here? She coming?
No, she had a family emergency to deal with.
I was hoping she was okay.
Yep.
Because she's so, always there.
Yeah, all right. Let's move on to
Okay,
agenda item 2, if we could.
close up this whole.
The annual report.
The report for 2023 has been given to the board for their review, and any comments, edits, additions, subtractions.
I was so impressed, Jack and Tom. I had nothing with this. Really?
This is all Jack.
Wow. You've been hanging around with Tom too much. No, really. I think the only thing that I noticed, I'm reading along and I'm saying, Tom didn't say anything about the guy that orchestrates this whole thing. And then I get to almost the last paragraph and I found Jack. So I was so excited. No, that's awesome.
What did I give you on last Monday?
This, and this, and this, and this.
That's right.
Oh, there, this,
No,
no, this, that's it.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, very, very well written.
Yeah.
And other than that one.
And that
thing,
doesn't surprise me about that.
I
Well,
couldn't
I'm
find
hanging around talk too much.
No, that was, I was very impressive, very, comprehensive. And I'm glad that, everybody from the team was mentioned because we couldn't do it with all the spoken word.
Yeah, it's a team effort. Absolutely.
I'm on board.
Okay. Did you, if you didn't get a copy, you didn't reach out to them?
You want to take a moment?
I have all the basic.
There you go.
I will. No, I don't mind, just,
No, please do.
I can look it over later and read it later. so-
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We're a special
That's
operation.
right.
We don't, do we need a motion to accept it? Or no? It's kind of.
Yeah, you guys go on it. It's.
Okay.
I'm sure he's good with that.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll reading them, they'll say that guys in the landfill, I went out there on Monday
You know what I mean?
in the rain.
That's how I think I got my cold.
Yeah.
Standing under the pine trees in the rain and I'm like, "No, why did I get in the truck?"
So, do you have those on?
To do.
Oh, I sent that, I recorded some videos at each of the well points. And there were two people there, there was a gentleman, Mark, and a gentleman, Sarah. And Mark was doing the gas monitoring portion, and Sarah was doing the groundwater. So I walked with Mark, because it was a little quicker process.
Mhm.
Basically, it's a 5-10 minutes at each location for the gas monitoring. The groundwater takes a little bit more at each location. Sarah, it was such a pouring rain, and he only had like a sweatshirt. And then jeans. By the time Mark and I, we had checked 2 well areas, we walked up to where Sarah was, and it was her first one. It looked like the jeans were like stuck to her. It was just so.
One, and looking out toward the field, and panning over towards behind that tree area.
Yeah, so that view, so on these videos, behind me is the well, Mark's behind me. But pretty much I'm looking out and kind of doing this as the looking out to the field areas. So a lot of these wells too were actually not, they were in the woods.
Right. Yeah, the ones to the left of the house in the back or in the middle of this area.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is number 1 on our map.
That we see here is the, and I see this right across at this viewpoint. We just came from number 2, which is have the down tree area that we need to be addressing.
Now, did that information that we received from a homeowner on Bellingham Street, did that get forwarded to DVP?
They did, yeah, Greg Root came in last Thursday, picked everything up.
Okay.
We had a nice little discussion, Jack and I and Greg,
Any idea how long it will take him to?
probably at least 2 or 3 weeks time to get that all scanned in and done electronically.
Only because if we can forward that whole file,
And then electronically, then we can send the whole pass.
Oh, I mean, that's.
so that'll take a little more time.
Right.
Right, if he needs time to get it all electronically recorded.
Right.
So that doesn't mean we couldn't pass on some. of the
Yeah, a lot of these files that
documents.
are already have tagged in the boxes we have,
Okay,
so I'll get those to her.
for her in the future, to get a full copy of those documents, would be huge.
Yeah.
Because that really gives you a picture of, that tells the whole story.
Yes.
For that second one, so we got. Basically, we're in order, we're doing it based on the map, you might have a copy of.
I have down here from last meeting.
This one.
So, we're here, what would be, wellhead
See if I get this sharing. I am sharing.
number 2. And what we're seeing here is we have a down tree. I would suspect may have come down. And we think the wellhead is what, right in? You can see it, it's right behind that. So wellhead is, see right where the mark is pointing and, yep, right in the tree. So we're gonna look to kind of get near that.
Was that uprooted?
Yeah, so what ended up happening is we ended up after that video, we went around to the backside. And Mike and I, yeah, this thing just came down and it was fresh. What
Yeah.
happened was, because it was another dead one, Mark had a safe valve at the bottom. So we didn't do any testing on number 2.
All right, should we document?
Now we're at test point number 3. Is the whole information to a test. Okay, we're now standing at monitoring well number 4 on the map. Kind of looking out from where the well's positioned. And then in the brush here, and you can see where the residential home is compared to number 4. Okay, yeah, just recording a little video. I'm just standing here at test point number 5 as a reference for our map. And I'm looking out at the long driveway that heads up, heading up in this direction.
You're on the left on the field, 5, 4. On the right, and then you can
Okay.
walk up to 3, which is out closest to the house.
Right, right. And that's on the right side of the driveway.
And that's,
I understand that that's where Brendan's portion was.
yeah.
Monitoring number 6. Kind of looking out up toward the main residence up the road there. That's the driveway to our right. Panoramic view. Of course, right behind where we are is Paula's residence. Talking around there, there's Paula's residence there. And so this is monitoring well number 6.
There are
Number
6.
6,
There are 6.
is it on that sheet, it just showed 5.
Yeah, and somewhere along the line, one of them was damaged.
Yeah, there was one that got
Oh,
destroyed and they replaced it.
Right.
But it's kind of funny, when up at number, looking at this map, we were looking at number, and this is kind of weird because you see where the driveway is, the paved drive coming up, right? Well, if you take the cursor and move over to the right, like 90 degrees across, right? Right there is the tree line where actually 5 and 4 are, according to Mark.
Okay.
Right? So we have it numbered a little differently because he's got, you see where 5 is on the map? It's on the other side of the driveway.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because what you have is you got soil gas and you got groundwater.
Right.
And therein lies the difference because soil gas number 5 is the green.
Yeah.
That's there, that's about right. You walk up a little bit further on the line of the woods, you see soil gas number 4,
Yeah.
okay? That's fine. And we walk out of the woods and we go up to soil gas number 3 toward the house, so that matches. And then if you go over to 2 on the other side of the driveway, that's where the down tree was.
Okay.
And then eventually you go way over to soil gas number 1 in the woods.
Yeah.
But, so the numbers of the wells, that's the numbering for the soil gas. Looks like the monitoring wells have a little different numbering scheme. And I wasn't working with Sarah, I was working with Mark on the soil gas.
Right.
So, and it's funny, the position of monitoring well 4 and monitoring well 3 that are in red,
Mhm.
they're actually kind of over in the woods, more like in line with soil gas number 1. So what you have is if you, coming from soil gas number 1, if you're in the tree line, which comes down here, they're actually kind of over here in the tree line. This kind of makes it look like they're out in the field, but they're
Yeah.
really not. They're in the tree line. Okay, yeah. And of course, this is all a tree line all in here. This is all a bunch of trees in there. I mean, the only ones that are open are the ones down by Paula's house.
Yeah.
So,
Because of course, all that vegetation was approved up.
well, there you go, over time.
Right.
It
Right.
might have been field,
Yeah.
and then they let vegetation grow.
Right.
Right,
So they shortened the grass area to cut.
Right.
So you're right, it might have been.
yeah,
But I do have to say that they, from what I understand and what I've seen the few times I've been there, is they do maintain keeping that grass cut. And I think that was part of the agreement.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, I was told that, the cap needed to be mowed, so to
Mhm.
speak.
And Mark commented on that. He said it's very well maintained.
Right, so, I mean, in all fairness, we got, someone is doing that part
Right.
without having to be told or whatever, they're just taking care of it. it's being brush hogged or whatever they're doing to keep it mowed down. Which definitely, helps the testing people do their job.
Did I send you another video of the Big Depression?
Just the 6 videos.
Just the wells,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we had pictures last meeting, the, depressions and of the culvert.
Well, there was one, I don't know if we captured it because it was a very, very large one.
Oh, really?
So if you if you bring up the map again, Jack. In relation to the driveway, when you're coming up the path, come in a little bit smaller, Jack. Yeah, it's good there. You're kind of coming up right along here,
Mm-hmm,
and before you get to the bend,
mm-hmm.
we're kind of right about here. If you go out into the field area, about 100 feet, there's a very large one.
Okay. The culvert is near the driveway, right?
The leachate basin,
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, it's right about here.
that's right up over there.
Right,
It's a little
right.
bit further away. So you have that depression in there. And this one, I just happened to notice walking across the field. It's before you get here because these are actually in the wooded area.
Mhm.
So it's probably right around in here. It's a pretty good area,
So it is in the field though.
but it definitely isn't here.
Okay, so that would make it easy access.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You know,
But it's just it's a depression. I can't say there's any issue with the cap. It's-
right, but obviously they're not supposed to be any because depressions will gather water
Yeah.
and water could deteriorate
Right.
what's underneath. So that's probably why they want to keep it
But-
as flat as possible. So look, you know, surface water is equally distributed,
Right.
you know?
And they're private road, by the way, you know, that big, one of the photos, the big
Square.
square cement thing?
Yeah.
Right behind that, that is their private. That's their well. So,
Well, I think, you know, as far as, I don't know, where Karis goes, because now we're kind of bouncing around. We got the agenda item, whatever.
Yeah.
Number one there.
Yeah.
We're moving forward.
Yeah.
And we're moving in the right direction. And thank you for, you know, meeting and getting all that documentation,
Risking your life.
both from the homeowner and to the DEP.
what's
You're
that?
risking your life for those videos.
Well, I would take risky.
All right, so if we go back to, Joyce, if you had time to
Yeah,
read and
that's great,
digest it.
yeah, very nice.
Okay, so
Yeah,
uh,
perfect.
on agenda item number 2,
Yep.
the annual report.
I'd be happy to make a motion to accept the Board of Health annual report 2023 as written.
And we need a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Motion is passed.
very good. That was excellent. All right,
And nice job.
Thank you.
As usual.
all right, so
Right.
I can't do it without you three.
told you, every spoke in the wheel matters.
That's right.
All right, so let's go to, if nobody has any objections, let's move on to agenda item number 3. We're gonna have a discussion about food permits for nonprofit charitable groups, for town events.
Well, the ask had been put forth to me a short time back as to whether or not the board would entertain the thought of possibly waiving any kind of permit fees
Yes.
for groups such as that nature, the nonprofit, you know, in town groups that, you know, do nonprofit charitable work for the town. So I said, I bring it to the board
In the meeting.
for discussion.
Yeah, I think we've touched upon this over the years
Yeah.
at different times. I think that,
If I'm having a meeting, yeah.
so we really have 2 categories. We have one category that is registered nonprofit. And then we have the other category that we're calling charitable groups, because not all clubs,
Correct.
booster clubs, et cetera, are registered nonprofits.
That's
So
correct.
we're talking about both of
Yep.
these groups.
Right. And I
Um,
almost kind of wish that, you know, now that somebody still want to make a decision on a maybe table, I thought it'd be good to have good input from Colleen's perspective.
I agree, but I don't think there's any reason we can't have a short discussion.
No, no,
about
definitely
it
discuss.
now, and who knows what might come up.
Yeah.
That when Colleen is present, we can
Yeah.
kind of streamline and listen to what
Yeah.
her input is. I think my concerns on that particular issue is knowing exactly what our costs are.
Mhm.
Because we're always just trying to cover our costs.
Right.
The
Because we still have to inspect.
the other thing is, so we're limiting this to just town events.
Correct.
So, the different events that go on, like, I call it the block party, but it's not the block.
Rock the block.
Rock the block. Santa parade.
Yep.
Town-wide events, not just events that are just for football, baseball, soccer. Right?
Well, therein lies the question. That's a good consideration. A town-wide event versus an event that's for like a specific group. I mean, which anyone could technically attend. but
Yeah.
You end up having it for, like, say, football boosters,
Right.
right? The people who are involved with the kids are the ones that will be attending those, right? I could go as a resident of Mendon if I wanted to. So it's not like it's limited. They're not saying, oh, it's just for, it's really open to anybody, but
Right.
it's,
I guess I'm trying to make sure I understand what the ask is.
yeah.
I agree, it should be the town sponsored event.
Okay, now,
Yeah, the boosters are town sponsored event. Like the thing, football games, it's really
they're,
school
yeah,
sponsored.
they're a little more segmented
Yeah.
than,
I think something that the select board puts on, let me, that way, if that makes any sense.
yeah, but then you have like the Santa parade that's really sponsored by the Brothers of the Brush.
Brothers of the Brush.
But it's a town-wide community event. And they're not a registered nonprofit, but they're definitely a town charitable organization now. In all disclosure, I'm a member. Tom's a member. So I don't want to feel as though me using that as an example, that I'm prejudiced towards that situation, because that's not the case. You know, there are other, I'm trying to think, if we go, the school, is it the school that does the turkey trot?
The school does a turkey trot now.
Okay, they're a registered, I believe they're a registered nonprofit. That's a townwide community
It's
event,
a town-wide event,
okay?
sponsored by the school.
Mhm.
They run it.
Okay, yeah, so
So-
that's the PTO.
It's PTO.
Right,
Yeah, parent
okay.
Teachers, yeah.
So that's a townwide event. Anybody in town that wants to participate in that event as a participant or a spectator is encouraged to attend.
Right.
Even though the funds from that go to the school. I mean, the school's pretty community.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I said, I want to make sure I know what the ask is. The other thing is, if we have it like Rock the Block, we have a sausage vendor. Is the sausage vendor giving their product away for free? Or are they doing it as a business enterprise?
Well, I'd say definitely Rock the Block is a business enterprise.
Okay, so if they're doing it, in my opinion, at this time, with no input from Colleen, if they're doing it as a business enterprise, they should have to pull a permit.
Right.
And they should have to pay for the permit.
I agree.
Because
Is
it's-
that-
they're doing it to make money. If it's an event like the Santa Parade where the food is being paid for by the organization that is sponsoring the event, then I would like to give them a break.
We're not differentiating where the group originates. So the sausage guy could be from out of town. But let's say we had somebody within town that was doing sausages. Let's say it was the Scouts.
Right.
And they were making sausages. They had a, you know, a mobile vehicle. Is that, are we kind of distinguished there, or we wouldn't?
If the money is going to the local troop scouting.
Yeah.
I don't call that a business enterprise.
Okay.
Not that I'm anti-business.
But they're not doing it, the sausage guy's doing it to make money for himself.
Correct.
The Scouts are making money for the scout.
So we'd want to look to definitely distinguish between
Who's what
profit
and
for
what.
business
Yeah.
and call it profit for local non-profit, but charitable group.
Right, for their
Joint
charity, yeah,
profits,
right.
money going back into a cause.
Right.
Locally in town, right?
So I mean, I don't know if the local Boy Scout troop is that would probably be more, I don't think they're a registered nonprofit. So I would call them a recognized club. They're a troop within the Boy Scout organization. And if they're gonna take and sell sausage, we still need to do an inspection and make sure everybody knows what
Oh,
they
that's
do.
right.
We do.
Right, for sure.
But I could see waiving the fee because the money is going to the local scouting troop.
Yep.
All right, now, if it was, scouting troop from out of town, that'd be a little harder to justify, in my opinion, at this time. Again, what I'm saying right now is without input from our health agent that does the actual inspections.
Right.
That's kind of my opinion. Joyce? your
The town,
comments?
the townwide, something that's townwide, that's town advocated, town done, be run by town people and stuff like that. That's for a not-for-profit thing, that I think that's fine, but anything that's gonna be like Vanderbox and all that stuff that they have up there, which is exclusively for profit.
I will say that in the past, I know Lonnie was always really good at trying to find whatever town services were needed at little or no cost for an organization that was putting an event on in town. If there was a way of, if there were enough police officers on duty at the time and there was a way to, temporarily for a short period of time, assign a police officer to a particular event and it wasn't gonna, working with the police chief, if it wasn't going to be detrimental to public safety, and to do that for no charge. But we also know that there are times where we need to have, someone from the fire department on duty when the fireworks are going, and we have to pay.
And that's, hey,
And it's a lot of money.
Yep.
That comes out of the pocket of the organization.
Yep.
But, it's a lot. And, we pay just like any other organization.
but it,
So-
in turn from that, people have been very generous. Food dudes are doing their cooking, say at the Sandbridge. And we put out a donation bucket. And people are very kind because the food is free, right? We're always throwing in $1 here and there. We can accumulate on average $500.
Mhm.
Donations, it's almost like people help pay for that detail
Sure.
on the fire department.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice when the organization that's sponsoring an event gets a big thank you in return. But as you and I know, that money goes right back helping the community,
Some way, shape, or form.
and whatever they need. During the course of the year, that the money doesn't stay in the checkbook that long.
Right.
It's a revolving account.
Yeah.
Okay. So like I said, I think my only thing at this time is, if it's a business enterprise, I'd have a hard time waiving the fee. The fee is not that much money.
It's not,
We don't make any money on the fee as the Board of Health is concerned. It's pretty much a wash. So I have a hard time waiving that fee. Unless Colleen,
Has some point
Yeah.
to make about.
that's a, question for Colleen is, other fees, and we look at our fees every now and then, right, because we want to stay reasonable. Has there any got with the B and D to potentially be increasing the fee?
Mhm.
Right, is that consideration based on what?
well, and just think, if that particular sausage vendor that I was just talking about, hypothetically, if they have an annual food permit with the town of Mendon, they're already paid.
That's correct.
So they're not being charged for that townwide event, even though they're a business enterprise. Because they've already, they've already,
One,
yeah,
did the annual.
so. For
But they still
any,
have to be inspected for every time they participate in something.
That's right.
But they supposed to be, I mean, they're supposed to inform us,
Correct.
hey, I'm gonna be in town on such and such a date for the, whatever.
Yep.
That gives a heads up to you guys and call me to, do the thing, inspection.
so. I think there's probably only gonna be, other than a nonprofit or a club, there probably would be very few business enterprises that only come to town this one time. There'll be very few of those.
Yeah, most.
A lot of them will already.
I mean, do you have a sense, based on the permits you get, food permits, that are annual versus the ones that are doing it as a one-time event?
I'm only gonna say it's half and half.
Okay, so there's a large number.
Well, 50-50, but again, it's the odds of that one food vendor coming a great distance just to do our event.
Right.
As a one-shot deal, are probably pretty slim.
Probably.
You know, I'm thinking that the 50% that Jack is talking about are the ones that don't pull a permit until they get a gig in a town.
Yeah.
You know, just like, some of our dumpster people, until they see that Mendon's gonna start calling them, they don't pull a permit.
And some of the stalls too.
Yeah, because they don't, yeah, if they don't, they have nothing on the board.
Mm.
And then, once they have something on the board, it could be in February, and now they got a permit for the year. Or it could be November, and they have a permit for 2 months.
Right.
But they need the permit, so, I mean, we could monitor it for a 6-month period and see how things fall out, but I'm willing to bet most of the people that are willing to come to an event like Rock the Block are already doing business in Mendon or fairly local.
Oh, I would say that's true.
So, it's very good to have this discussion because it would help the nonprofits and the clubs. But I don't think we're gonna find too many business entities that we would be charging a fee just to do one townwide event. So that might not really be a stumbling block for anybody,
Right.
you know?
Do you have a sense on that 50-50 number, what percentage might be actual, what appears to be for commercial versus what appears to be a nonprofit local group?
That I would not know. I want to be able to distinguish what's considered nonprofit charitable group.
That's
Except
not
for Mendon's Brothers in the Brush, that's.
Sometimes you get these folks that do the residential kitchens.
Yeah.
Right. And they're making, they're making food. But they're doing the residential kitchen is annual, right?
Yes,
That's
we only have like 3 of those in Mendon.
And what is that?
Well, they use their home kitchen to make goods
For what, though?
For business.
for business. They sell it on the internet, bring it to have a table at an event.
Like donuts or?
Yeah, muffins, cakes, candies,
they're running the business.
out of their kitchen basically, yeah.
So Colleen would go out and make sure they know all the rules because they're using their kitchen
Right.
to make food for people outside of their household. So then, she goes through the whole thing with them and it's a permitted process. They pay money.
Yeah, she treats them just like a regular restaurant.
And then you have groups that like this on this Santa parade that just went by.
Yeah.
You had the historical commission that opened up the old historical building. And they were offering out baked goods and cider, right? Now, in that case there, because of the nature of what they were doing, Colleen determined that all they needed to do would be to advertise or put out on a placard that the food that is being offered was not made in a residential kitchen that had been inspected by the Board of Health. So you have the general
Yeah,
statement.
Consumer advisory.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I guess in a way, how I was explaining was that it's kind of can be kind of a, potential liability protection, right? So if somebody happens to consume something
right.
they shouldn't have,
Well,
you know,
Yeah.
they've been made aware
of what they were getting.
that, Board of Health was not formally involved in inspecting or approving the origin of the food. But
Any other comments on that topic at this time?
No,
So
that's-
we'll
bring it up
pass
again.
down, bring it up again when Colleen has an opportunity to contribute.
Yeah, so we think we're kind of leaning, kind of creating the separation of the commercial versus the non-commercial, business versus can't say business because,
Well, there's kind of a lot of stipulations there. It's almost like you're on a checklist.
yeah,
Is it a town event?
right,
Are you a nonprofit? Are you a charitable club?
Right.
Are you a business entity?
right.
So it's almost like a checklist, and if you check yes on
No.
everything, you're good. If there's a no, you get kicked to the next category.
Yeah,
Well, you raise a good point because that could end up actually changing the form.
Yeah.
That we put out there to create that proper checklist. right? Makes sense.
all right.
I'm thinking off the top of my head.
No, I'm kind of falling in line with that.
Joyce, you're good with that?
I'm good.
All right, so we'll move on to the E.L. Harvey contract update.
All right, E.L. Harvey's council still has it in their hands after our town council made her revisions and edits. So I'm just waiting to hear back from them. But staying on topic, I did speak with Jody and Eric, the town accountants, about the municipal trash and what we were trying to propose about subscribers picking up the fees for the municipal trash. Jody sent me an email today. She says, I just wanted to circle back with the outcome and recommendation based on our discussion today. We understand that there is a perception that subscribers are paying for trash service for municipal buildings. While that may seem true, I'd also like to point out that there is an indirect cost to the municipality for providing administrative support for all subscribers at no additional cost to the program. The BOH, Treasury Collections, and accounting personnel all handle administrative functions, including payment processing, billing, and customer service for the program. We would like to propose that the model stay intact, but that we document the trade-off of picking up municipal trash receptacles for an even exchange of administrative support to the program. I would also like to recommend that we really gauge usage of the municipal locations to determine if what we have is what is needed or if there's efficiency to be gained. Please let me know if there are any other further questions or anything requires clarification. Thanks, Jody.
Well, first thing I'll say on that is we've been talking about building efficiencies in on the municipal side right along. So that's in process already.
Yep.
As far as the trade-off goes, I don't remember hearing the selectmen bring any, or the finance committee bringing anything like that up.
Well, it was her with
You
Tracy.
can read this again.
Yeah, so basically when Tracy and Eric were talking back and forth,
Tracy.
Jody, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Jody and Eric were talking. They say, well, what about the time spent that you, Jody, deal with the trash payments and the billing? What about Tracy's time from the treasurer collector's office, her time in the billing? Like those salaries are being paid by all taxpayers and that should be accounted for. Like Jack's time for dealing with the inquiries, questions, and also the billing aspects. That's his salary is being paid by all taxpayers in the town minute as well.
Mhm.
And so they were figuring out the calculations of Jody's time, the accountant's time, Tracy's time, my time, everybody's time that's involved with the trash recycling program. It would be basically even trade-off.
Right.
Instead of us billing them and basically them billing us for their time put into the program.
Well, isn't it that their job? I mean, am I losing track of this? I mean, their job is to do the finance part. That's their job. Regardless if it's trash or if it's,
Tax bill.
the school or that's their job is to do.
Well,
I mean, I don't get that. Not getting it somehow.
Well, Now what you're getting into though, is you're getting into micromanagement. You're getting into could be some pretty interesting nuts and bolts I'd be curious to know what they feel the dollar value is for the process. You know, basically, that's what kind of the saying, they're indicating that there's folks that put in, that have skin in the game for the trash program, right?
But we're talking about, actual physical trash pickup. We're not talking about anything. We're talking about physical trash pickup.
Right.
Physical trash, not what you do to walk over and dump the trash
Mhm.
every day. The senior person, how is she dumping the trash in there? Should she get paid a certain amount of money for dumping the trash? And, you know, Jody's job is to do this. That's what she gets paid for, doing the treasury stuff. And that has nothing to do with the amount of trash that's being generated by her. We're talking about trash generated, not what everybody's doing that relates to trash. We're talking about physical trash.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
getting picked up and brought to Harvey, brought to Millbury. You know, that's, to me, they're backing up the wrong tree.
I think I'm
Makes
gonna
sense.
ask for a raise.
Yeah. Me
Because
too, 'cause I
think of what we
talk
do
about
for
the
zero.
trash. Yeah.
We do it to be helpful to the members of our community. I don't know, I mean, I think fortunately, the initial cost of picking up municipal trash isn't a huge number. Okay, so by the time we build in efficiencies, which is something we've been talking about from the very beginning, the actual number that's left over might not be that big. As long as we are able to, I think the revolving account is gonna be a bigger plus for the subscribers than capturing the cost of the municipal trash. So I don't know, I don't know if we go after the bigger win first?
But can I say this? So, all right, we're getting, you are getting your trash collected by Harvey.
Mhm.
I'm not. I'm taking care of my own trash. So where do I fit in that of not paying for the community?
I see what you're saying, yeah.
So I think that's asked backwards, if you find that expression.
Well,
Yeah, you're recorded.
It's an
You know what I'm
interesting,
saying? I'm saying that we're just saying that the general public who are not part of the senior citizens group should be paying for the senior citizen trash, that should be part of their own budget. They're running in my opinion, they're keeping, you know, they pay for other things. What else do they pay for? You know, the seniors, the senior center, do they pay for lights and gas and heat? So why not trash? Right? I think,
I think I'm trying to, when I go to salaries,
Yes.
all right, and job descriptions, I think that's where I need to think about this a little bit more. Because this is not the response that I anticipate.
well, like I said, it's an interesting viewpoint. But, you know,
So are you gonna start charging the subscribers to collect the money to customer service on a program that's supposed to benefit your community and you work for the community. You don't just work for the department. You work for the community.
Right.
So you go into town hall, or heck, you can go into the town clerk, you can go in to see Ellen and ask her about something. It might not be town clerk related. But she's a member of the community, she's an elected official. And if she can help you, she will. Or she'll direct you, customer service, to the person you should be inquiring. Getting the answer. Like, do I owe $1.50?
No, that's right. That's what I'm saying.
She's not,
Yeah,
that's, we all try to be, how many times have people come to a Board of Health meeting in the last 12 months about a conservation issue?
right.
They weren't able to get through or get a response that was satisfactory. They came to us. And we do everything we can to try to help them.
Right.
Even though at the end, after we've made whatever suggestions that we can make, we have to tell them that we're not the last word in something like that, because that particular situation does not come under the umbrella of Board of Health. But we don't turn them away. We try to direct them or assist them. That couple that was getting flooded out,
Right, yeah. They must
right
have
down
been
on
thinking
Edward
that.
Road or whatever,
Yeah, down.
and concern about PFAS and all that other stuff. We did everything we could to try to
Right.
assist them,
Right.
but we know that because that wasn't under our umbrella, we
Right.
can't probably satisfy their question 100%. And we do that at no charge. Because they're members of our community.
Right,
So I guess that response,
to me, that doesn't
I have to, it
compute.
requires some thought.
Well, to me, it doesn't compute. In any way, shape or form, that does not compute. You're the treasurer. Eek, that's what you do. You're the treasurer. We're not charging you for your trash. It's that,
Tom, very quiet.
I just think it's a very interesting position. Trying to think of the right word for it. I think it's very creative. I don't think it's very practical.
I don't think
I don't know that I agree that it's appropriate, but it's an interesting presentation. Yeah, 'cause I mean, like I said, now it comes down to, now you're talking about micromanagement. Now you're talking about micro function. Somebody comes into the treasurer's office and, you're gonna ask them a series of questions as to where you categorize them, as to what you might charge them, to give them a response. Is it not sufficient enough that they're a resident of the town?
they are physically having dumpsters in these places. The treasurer does not have a dumpster.
The town office,
Right.
and not a dumpster even, it's the kind of.
Yeah.
Just covered,
Yeah.
So,
But we're talking about picking up the dumpsters.
and if that,
All municipality trash.
Right,
I mean, for that matter, you could take it to the next level is now should the people that work at the senior center now be looking to divvy up who they do work for, or don't do work for. And that causes their trash to be accumulated. You get really, it's a slippery slope. It's definitely it's the rabbit hole.
Mhm. Well, I think at
a
one,
rabbit hole, I think it's a rat hole.
I think at one point, because when they were looking at the budget for Missy's position, whatever that was called technically at that time, I thought at one point they were trying to divide up her 100% work as to what percentage she spends on trash, what percentage she spends on, septic permits, and
Yeah.
what they were trying to dissect that. Maybe it was when they were doing they were trying to align the jobs on the scale. Almost impossible. And what they came up with, most town employees weren't happy with. Whatever that company was that put everybody on that scale. I mean, if I had to divide my day up, I'd never be able to do it. As to what percentage I spend on a particular, I just do my job every day
Right, right.
to the best of my ability. And what doesn't get done today, I try like heck to get done the next day. So I don't know, Like I said, I need to really dissect that better.
At least in your role, for what you do, you can allocate, labor and material. You can make a pretty good direct correlation to which property it's associated with. So I think it's a little easier.
Mhm.
Something like that would be could get very
Yeah.
very, very difficult to do it to that level. Like I said, we're just talking about really a physical accumulation of trash as a whole.
Right. We're not talking about the,
We're not talking about the
Shift.
treasurer's trash or
right.
Right.
The
Police
town hall
chief's
trash,
trash.
the town hall trash is all one thing. It's not the treasurers, it's not the town clerk, it's not the administrator, it's not broken up into that. It's the town hall trash, all those things.
So if the,
That's crazy.
if the trash program,
Crazy.
if the trash program went away and they all have less to do they take cut and pay?
That's a good question.
Yeah, hello,
Isn't that the reverse?
yeah,
Less responsibility, less duty. Should get paid as much.
I mean, that doesn't make sense, right?
Mhm.
So I'm a little, like I said, I think I really need to read that a few times to try to understand thought process of that proposal.
okay, so can I make a motion that we pass on this and like,
Pick it up somewhere else.
think about it but it,
Shall I see if I can try to get Jody to be a part of our first January meeting?
Well, I think it would definitely, sometimes, reading something in email versus having a voice communication different. So I would personally want to have a conversation. So if she's able to participate in the meeting would be great.
Okay,
Well, we have tried to do that. Unfortunately, schedules don't seem.
No, I
in
understood.
the
Yeah.
past. He was present at that select board meeting that we went to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we're reading it one way and it's meant another way. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why sometimes when you read the written word, sometimes it's, and we could draw, the three of us could draw three different scenarios from that, right? Four of us, right? As opposed to listening to somebody explain it through. So it would be beneficial, I think, to have them give verbal support.
but what happens now with our budget, with our billings? But we wait for that long, is that going to interfere with our precept of the Tech Harvey picking up the individual?
We're locked in right now on the present course.
But that means that, I thought our present course was that the regular residents weren't picking up the money, weren't going to picking up the cost for that.
This is all work that we're doing ahead of time for the next fiscal year.
yes, it's done July 1st, 2024.
So what's in play right now and the way things are supported financially is gonna continue until June 30th.
So 6 more months.
And it may continue further than
I
that.
didn't understand that,
After this
how
budget.
you are doing that for this term right now, for this contract and everything.
No, because the contracts set has already, amounts have been set.
Okay.
The subscriber rates have been set. So that's why we're trying to fix it for the July 1st for the new fiscal year, so I can get a good
I didn't understand
new
that.
subscriber.
Well, we gotta give the departments
Right.
all opportunity.
Right, I just thought that we had already discussed that, we talked about it. I thought it was for now. No, So you can't change what is.
No, and we've started, you know, again, we've started in advance.
Right.
So, you know, this is an ongoing process and discussion.
I'll try that.
Well, in the other email that's attached to this that she sent to Eric. I can't say that the statement is completely accurate. Where it's made reference to, says essentially subscribers currently foot the bill for all the municipal trash services and the BOH wants departments paying for their own trash. Well, that's not necessarily true.
That was never
That was
proposed.
almost, well, that was only one of a few options.
Mhm.
Right? The goal just simply was as a segmentation of subscriber trash, separating out subscriber trash from municipal generated trash.
Mhm.
That's really how we achieve that. That could be one mechanism. But there was 2 or 3 options, I think, that were mentioned at the meeting when you and Alan were speaking.
Mhm.
That came out of the meeting, right? But it wasn't specific, that wasn't hard and fast. What we wanted, basically, our goal is to just simply pull out the cost of the municipally generated trash. From the standpoint of the, pick up the tonnage, that whole bit, right? Segment that from the subscriber generated trash. And it sounded like a pretty clean
To me,
thing to try to do, different options on to accommodate it,
Right.
but, my thought is maybe just one municipal account.
Yeah, see, I don't see Eric's response.
No, I didn't,
No, so this is only the first page of my email.
Mhm.
So basically, my email was to Jody and Eric saying the board and how would like your thoughts, and I sent this a couple of weeks ago. And I mentioned doing a 1-line municipal trash line item that puts that money into a 1-line item. 2, billing the departments where they pay it, or 3, having it in their own budgets to accommodate the difference of the trash program. And so when Eric emailed me and CC Jody and he goes, I don't understand what you're talking about. And that's when Jody says, this is what you and I talked about last week, so what they had for a conversation.
Yeah,
then I don't even know if you can even, is building most departments even process that you want to be doing? One department building.
yeah, it sounds like making it a lot more, now, again, I don't know what you're supposed to do from an accounting standpoint. And Eric is our contract accountant, so it's not, he's not in the town hall. We can sit down and have a conversation with him
Right,
and get the accounting point of view. As to what the mechanics are to do that, but to me, a single line item coming out of taxpayer funds to pay for that municipal portion is the simplest and easiest way to do
it seems like.
it. Billing, that's another expense. Nobody likes to see a bill in the mail. I don't care if you're, a resident or a department head.
It just seems like an extra
Yeah.
steps, extra work.
And that's why we needed to involve the town accountant, because he's the one that does, or she, are the ones that do the magic behind the scenes according to the rules of accounting.
Mhm.
To make the books pass it on.
it seems to me one of the other things that we were talking about was also making the departments more accountable for what is in their trash. So is Joe Blow the rag picker coming and throwing his trash in there and this one and that one and down at Senior Citizen, everybody bringing their trash from Franklin and whatever,
When you look at the size of the dumpsters at the fire station and the highway department, they're only 2 yards. And from what feedback we got from the driver, which is not. It doesn't appear that anybody is putting demo in the dumpster at the fire department,
right,
because it's only 2 yards. Probably the only dumpster that appears at this time, without having a discussion with the department head, is dumpster at the senior center. May not be size correct.
Could be smaller.
We also talked about Parks Department
That's a season.
being seasonal, being locked at all times. And Dan is very receptive, and willing to, work with us to build in those efficiencies that we've been talking about. TOTUS at the library. Pretty simple. TOTUS at the municipal center. Town hall and everything, pretty simple. So, there are, at this time, there doesn't appear to be any red flags that show any kind of abuse. So the efficiencies, after we know how this is all gonna work, are things that we're gonna work with in the different departments to make sure that they're being picked up. I mean, if they're picking them up every week and they only need to be picked up every other week, those are the efficiencies that we can do. We already have the contract. Contract is gonna stay like it is for a minimum of 3 years, maximum of 4 or 5. With the 2-year, so it's not gonna show any dollars and cents.
Yeah.
But building in those efficiencies are gonna provide an opportunity for the departments to fine tune everything. So that they're not paying. However, it's supposed to be done on an accounting basis, they're not paying any more than their share, their fair share. Which is the same thing we're trying to do for the subscribers. Trying to have the subscribers be as efficient as possible and as cost effective and only pay their responsible portion of the contract.
Exactly. Actually, as I relook at this, this statement here, it says, well, that may seem true. I'd also like to point out that there is an indirect cost to the municipality for providing administrative support for all subscribers at no additional cost to the program. Well, administrative support from the town hall perspective supports not only the subscribers, but everybody. So it's not like they're just working for subscribers, they're working for everybody. To your
Right.
point, all residents. Right?
All right, I'll see if I can get a run from the generator.
Yeah, it'd be nice to kind of do a verbal, but you're right.
Well, again, I need to make sure that I'm understanding. Sometimes it's almost like you get a text message and you don't know the tone. So I don't know the tone.
Well, I think I understand I think what she's trying to point out. I mean, she highlights trade-off. Basically, it's a tip to tap, right? We're doing something that subscribers may not think is not for them, but we're actually providing a service. So there's a cost factor there for that. So I think what she's indicating is would it be fair to automatically, also sounds like it would be penalizing the municipality and benefiting the subscriber by pulling out their trash disposal element, which I just don't, I'm not quite connecting in my head.
Well, I mean, is it?
So you just pointed out that from all intents and purposes, it appears there are no red flags as far as the departments are concerned with regard to their trash, right?
Right, which is a big plus.
Which is right. So it seems like for the most part, it's spot on.
Mhm.
And I guess the question is, if we're applying that formula that Mike talked about to all these locations, then that gives us a pretty good, dollar value for the disposal of that trash. Right? I'd just be curious how this would then be positioned to
For them
bring down
to say
their
how much it was.
contribution on this trade-off against, say, that 20 grand. Right, somewhere between 15 and 20.
Yeah.
I think is the number, right? How much are they saying that they put into something that the subscribers should be paying for?
Mhm.
Right?
Well, and as we brought up in the past,
Well, don't the subscribers pay for their salaries?
And the taxes,
yeah, we all do.
Right.
already paid for.
Well, that's
I
what
mean,
I'm
that's
saying.
how Jack gets compensated.
what's the,
But the Board of Health
I
Trash
know
Program
what you're saying.
also has programs.
That was a very interesting presentation.
The Board of Health Trash Program also has programs built into it that benefit the whole community at no charge to people that aren't subscribers. We have the hazardous waste day and the shred day. We have the built-in 2 free 30-yard dumpsters.
Yeah.
One, right? We pick up the trash from Rock the Block.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Board of Health trash program is far from just benefiting just the subscribers.
Oh, absolutely. Those added elements.
Okay.
And
And we wouldn't want it to be any other way. I mean, we're a community-based department. We work for the community. We're not trying to tell anybody that they can't participate if they want. Or you're not a subscriber, you can't come to hazardous waste day and shred day. We love to see all those chemicals get taken care of correctly and all the seniors bring their records down and know that they're safely taken care of. We don't ask if you're a subscriber, we just ask that you're a resident. I mean, can you imagine at Rock the Block, subscribers only can put their trash in the trash? I mean, that's crazy. So the trash program benefits everybody in town. You know, even if you narrow it down to that trash that doesn't end up on the side of the road, because we have a trash program. You know, that benefits everybody. So we're just trying to make the accounting accurate.
well, I think it's, we're just trying to make it what we perceive to be fair. I think fair is the target word here, right? What's fair for the subscribers, putting the bill for the program. I'm still seeing an element here where the municipality is generating an expense. That, I don't know that they're really fully participating in taking on the expense.
And everybody in town that's a subscriber is also a taxpayer.
Absolutely.
So it's
all
just,
those salaries are paid for.
well,
by the taxpayer.
it's just a matter of making sure that it comes out of the right pocket. Right? I mean, if the municipality picks up their portion of the trash bill, the money's gonna come out of the taxes you pay. You're not gonna get a break
Mhm.
on your real estate taxes, or I'm not gonna, it's just a matter of making sure it comes out of the right pocket.
Now, let's see what we can do.
No money changes hands. Nobody
Yeah,
saves any money.
face-to-face conversation,
Yeah. All right.
but interesting.
All right, so that's ongoing. Health agent is not able to make it this evening.
Nope.
Have we already moved on to outstanding business?
Outstanding old business.
Okay. Anything else that anybody can think of?
Well, since we're still on trash, did you want to bring up what we were doing? Yes.
So I got a call today from Rich Schofield. And he has a woman that's in his apartment that he's renting to. And he was upset, sort of, because he was having to pay for her trash. And he asked me to think about that, because she was a senior. And she, you know, I don't know if she's putting out smaller trash, I doubt it. But, you know, think that he thought she should have senior rate.
Okay, so she's a senior.
She's a senior, and she's putting the trash out in the yard, like it's her trash, but it's his house,
She's not the property owner.
correct?
And that's one of the stipulations is being the senior discount is being a property owner.
Yep.
We don't have too many of those situations. We have a lot of
But rentals, that's right.
But that is,
Interesting.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's a situation we don't come across that often. Or if we do, we're not aware of it. You know, it's taken care of in a manner that we're just not aware of, or not brought to our attention.
But we had spoken of, what if she has the senior trash buckets? The smaller ones.
We only have one size.
No, but we could get smallest, I think the 35 gallons trash and recycling.
Do we have to do that for all our seniors? If we-
Well, that's what I was thinking, like, if you want the senior rate, you're gonna get the senior barrels. And if you want the larger toters, then you pay the full rate. It all depends on how much trash.
That
you want.
means changing out all the totals to seniors
Yes.
that have already been done.
No, that doesn't make sense. Right.
If we wanted to do something like that, I would say that the only way we could do that is would have to be from this date forward. Because the expense to hobby.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah, right.
to change that all out, I think would be an unfair burden. Along with the bookkeeping that goes along with it,
Mhm.
because of all the serial numbers that have to be recorded. That would have had to be something that we instituted from the beginning.
Very beginning, correct.
So this person would either get totals that we already have.
She does have,
Okay.
That's not the property owner on record.
right. That's her trash.
And I mean, I know Rich has totals at his house and he's a subscriber.
Right.
So.
Then you have the other fact that Missy brought up to me last year when I was doing the new rates, stuff like that. So that means my mother can live with me and my family. She's a senior, so therefore my property, since she's not on property record, she's a senior living in my house, she should get the senior rate if the bill's in her name. But then Missy and her family are,
But they're the owners of the house. Missy and her family.
correct, but if we're taken away, you have to be the owner of the property. If we're gonna do it for one, we would have to do it for
Right.
all.
But I mean, I mean, that would be like, see, I guess I'm like Pollyanna. I think people don't do that, but she's the only person in that apartment. You know, she doesn't, apparently, she's living in there alone.
But I can see the can of worms that you could open up.
But this is the first, so, and, if it's the only one, and we just say to Rich, look,
Yeah, because I know that
sorry,
the Rooming House on Main Street, he has a dumpster there for all his tenants.
who is that?
The Rooming House, Executive Rooming House on Main Street.
Brown building,
Oh,
going to the center of town.
that's spelled the executive, building,
That's what the sign says. So they have a dumpster. So I'll call that a multi-tenement structure.
Right.
Has a dumpster.
right,
And that dumpster is provided for by the landlord.
right. And who picks it up?
Whatever the company is on the.
Okay,
yeah.
he has his own.
Yeah,
right,
company,
right.
Okay,
Now, 5 Main Street, I just happen to know, is a 3-family, I believe. And I think the residents pay for trash. Not the landlord.
Okay,
So I think the residents that live in 1, 2, or 3, or A, B, or C that want trash service pay for it. So they must be paying full rate, because I don't think any of them are seniors. Just guessing by what I see when I drive by. So this is kind of a different scenario. Rich doesn't have a dumpster there for the whole building. And this particular tenant happens to be a senior. If the woman wasn't a senior, we wouldn't be having this
Right,
discussion,
yeah.
Correct.
right? Because it seems as though she should get senior pickup. But that's not what the checklist says.
Yeah.
So how,
How could you word it if she would, like, would you say she's not living in a duplex apartment or sharing a tenement or,
Or you'd have to change the program.
yeah,
You'd end up changing the program and word it so that it has no connection to the property owner. It's occupant. So irrespective of who owns the property.
right?
Right.
I mean, I wasn't thinking about that either. I was thinking about the occupant.
You know, but that's.
right, but as Jack brought up, you can have a home
Yeah, yeah,
owned by someone who's not a senior,
right.
and the senior that's living there, that's not the homeowner, applies for the permit.
Yeah, but that, to me, that would be, look, you would say, that's not what we're talking about. You're not living in.
I know,
You're not
I don't know.
You're not living in this apartment, living in this house by yourself. Your whole family is living. You know that by you'd see who's by the book, who's in that house.
But they could have left out and she could be renting. I don't know how much her income could be.
All right, we use the census, right?
The census is correct.
So if we use the census to determine who qualifies and who doesn't, this woman is gonna have to fill out the census,
Correct.
right?
Yes,
When does it come around next?
January.
Okay, so that would mean that, forget who owns the place. That would mean that as of July 1st,
Mhm.
2024, she would qualify for the senior discount, provided she's filled out the census.
Correct.
So really, the only sticking point is she's renting a property that she doesn't own.
Mhm.
But we're not using the census to determine, we're using the census. The requirement is individual has to respond to the census. But don't we have our own application when somebody say first starts as a senior? We still have our own senior discount application?
No, that's why we went to the census to get rid of the application, because people were
Altogether.
complaining about filling out the form every single year.
So
Saying I
even,
don't get younger every single year, so why have to fill this out?
so even first timers aren't doing an application, you reach that age, so it just, the shit is just based on.
The census alone, and if you meet the other three requirements.
One of them being, you have to be the property owner. So that's an interesting twist.
Is that part of the, is that part of the census? That's specific to the senior discount program? That question exists? The census only basically lists the people in the household. I recall, tells the occupation, the ages. You know, deceased, not deceased, or whatever.
Right, but Jack sends out. You sent out the qualification.
On the census itself, on the back, it says you must complete the census in order to receive the senior discount.
Right.
No, but the part about the connection with the property, that line was on our application,
Correct.
but is that anywhere on the census?
On the back, but yes, it gives those 4 bulleted items.
Oh, so we put the 4 bullets
Yeah.
on the back of the census, so we got rid of our application. Essentially, those same bullets that were on the application got moved over to the census.
Correct.
Ah, I got it, okay.
So this woman would be fine on page 1. And then on page 2,
She gets knocked off.
Oh,
She's paying rent. You know, I'm just using that as a,
yeah, the only thing I'm thinking of is, would we then have to verify that through the census that she was the only one living at that address?
Again, you can have 4 people living in the house and only one person signs their name to it and sends it back. There's a lot of ways to cheat the system. I understand that.
And to your.
But I want to make it fair for
Fair
everybody, because there's gonna be a can of worms if we open this up.
Right.
And I'll realize that if we do this for senior citizens that don't own the property, the regular subscribers are gonna have to pick up the other half.
That make the difference.
Right, which is obviously through everything we do, we're trying to make everything fair and equitable.
So, I can
Oh.
talk to Rich and just say, there's so little rental property that, and it's not making any sense to us, so sorry, she has to pay.
I think you gotta keep it,
Which is-
criteria has to be the property owner.
Right. So it has, and it's
And to
not,
be honest, if she went anywhere else,
right,
then it's still gonna be cheaper in Neil Harvey for a trash.
right,
Scrap doesn't do senior citizen discount.
right.
Berkowitz Trucking doesn't do senior citizen discount.
So I'll call him and just say, we talked it over and it just, it's, our rules were pretty compact because there are so many cheaters in the world.
Correct.
And I'll do that. All right, I'll do that. He will understand.
We appreciate his concern and her
Right,
concern.
yeah,
Totally.
Yeah, and I wish there was a way to that, something that solid that would apply to that situation that people couldn't get around.
right,
Because if the
People
little
are-
people
they
that jump
understand.
around,
Yeah,
the bigger burden it puts on
right.
the subscriber base.
Yeah, they ultimately have to pick up any difference.
Yeah, and it's a
Any rate we
huge
get.
discount. 50% is a huge discount,
Mhm.
Right.
you know?
I know we agonized over that as to whether or not we wanted to consider changing that program.
mhm.
And I,
So I'll do that. Let's
Okay.
move on.
Yeah, and I would say at this time, see,
Right. A way to do it. I'll talk to him. He'll get it. If he's not paying it, so what? But he was.
oh, yeah, he's trying to,
Help this person.
yeah, and that's, you know.
Too late, but
Any else business?
what, was there anything pending from, I know one time, a couple meetings back, we had something on the agenda that involved, Danielle, with regard to, picking up the expensive shots.
All the rabies, yes.
What is it, where does that stand?
I'll have to ask her as well if she's available for
She was
me.
gonna come before us at the meeting, she wasn't able to attend.
Right.
We passed.
I
over
remember that,
the
yeah.
topic, I was just curious, that's still a concern for her?
Yeah, because I asked Jack about the barn book, because the
Right.
barn hadn't been inspected yet.
Yep.
And days later, it was all taken.
Yeah, she just
care
finished up the barn inspections last week. But she is no longer working as our health agent. She is still our animal inspector, but she has left the Blackstone Valley Partnership.
of.
She has.
She is now working as the health director for the town of Clinton, I believe.
oh my.
Oh, wow.
When did that happen?
Well,
When did that happen?
her first week was this week,
Oh, okay.
Well, good for her, but she'll be missed. She was,
but she'll still be our animal inspector.
right.
Great. Where does she live?
Dayton,
Jeez. Yeah,
Well, that's not,
It's limited.
oh,
Norfolk, she used to live with her parents in
Yeah.
Norfolk, but she moved in Dayton now.
Okay.
it's like going south toward.
Yeah.
Bedford.
Yes.
very close to New Bedford.
Okay.
So she's actually closer to us than she is to Clinton. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. I'll come, have you come 495.
Wow.
And, the shot specifically that she was asking about?
Rabies.
This is a rabies.
Yeah.
Which is kind of pricey, I think.
I think she told me it was like $5,000.
Uh,
Pre-rabies, I think what they called it.
Jeepers. I thought you were.
So that
Yeah.
would be something that would fall under her her responsibilities, or she'd be incurring as a animal inspector.
Correct.
And her salary is, her stipend is about $5K.
It is.
Correct. Is she required to, get that? Is that her,
Don't believe so.
was it about, getting one in this, in the case where she could acquire, a bite or something, and she had to have a rabies shot?
Probably, yeah,
Is that the scenario?
yeah.
I mean, rules and regulations and are updated all the time, so. You know, it's a possibility that it's something she came across that is a
Yeah.
requirement for someone in that position.
Mhm.
I don't know any of the more inspectors that I could even have as to what the status is for their, you know, in order for them to do their job and do it safely. So I'm willing to bet that was something that she came across,
Right,
you know, while doing the position and said, oh geez, I didn't know that, you know.
All right, so you actually have.
I'll ask them January 10th.
Okay,
Yeah, and if it is, if that particular requirement, we should probably be able to get some more information as to where that's written, where that's published. Because I mean, obviously, it's something we need to be aware of.
Well, I can ask MDR, the Massachusetts Department,
Okay.
and Michael Cahill, I believe this is
Okay.
the director of MDR, and I can reach out to ask him,
Yeah,
if we have a concern, like.
well, yeah, we want to make sure we're in compliance,
Yeah.
obviously, right?
Yeah.
And it would be interesting to know what other small towns are doing, only because of the cost.
right, yeah,
Yeah, because I can ask Oakdale, because I know Diane Tenement, who's my counterpart, has her own animal inspector,
Okay.
so I'll see what she does.
Yeah, because like, as I mentioned to you, sometimes when someone who has employment has to have some specialized training.
Yeah.
There are, like employment contracts.
Mhm.
If we're gonna have to assume the training for, you know, X number of dollars, you have to work for us for a period of at least 2 years. You know, a way of spreading out that expense over a period of time. You hate to give someone some specialized training
right.
and then they move on to another job.
That's very
And
standard.
you're gonna start over
in
again.
the private sector.
Yeah,
I know in the automotive industry it's that.
Yeah, we'll give you X amount of training, but you gotta commit to being with us. Otherwise, you know, you're gonna lose that.
Yeah, you essentially owe that debt.
yeah, exactly.
I know in the automotive industry, from what I've been told over the years, that was common practice.
Yeah.
Someone gets out of school, goes to work for the local Toyota dealership,
Mhm.
and they now need to be Toyota certified. And there's an employment contract, you know, we're gonna send you to school for X number of months, every year for a period of 3 years. You have to sign a contract that you're gonna be employed by us for a period of time, or you have to repay us for that investment.
Yeah.
Because it's very expensive.
Mhm.
And obviously they want to invest in employees that can stick around so that it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't know what is customary for that particular position.
No, reach out to him.
Anything new on the well regulation front? Can we do?
I asked Tom about it last week, he said that, yeah. He's been a little slammed, he said. But it's still on my radar to keep out of the world.
Yeah.
did you know when last election day?
I just heard that last night.
To the lake this morning.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe it.
Very sad,
Yeah.
he, his wife's on down near the garage.
Yeah.
Then she had, gone, she placed some kind of bingo or something like that, and, he usually has his lunch, and she came home, the house was dark. Both stoves out, no sign of any lunch. So she called her son, his dad there, and he went down.
Used to go there. Son-in-law. Used to see Glenn all the time, and then down the companies on the coffee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd sit there and wait for my bill and we'd be talking about, you know,
Everything.
how different houses he built up north and snowmobile, because I knew his brother Bobby better.
Yeah.
Because Bobby did foundations,
Yeah.
so I knew, you know, Bobby and his nephews.
Well, he had a place on the lake, and we worked very hard on getting the lake association done and everything together, and he and I wrote well. And we did it for a while. To leave that to at the same time.
So that service today, was that like a combined, like a week?
Yeah, it was 9, the wake was 9 to 11, I
Yeah.
think, and.
Yes.
The mass. To, 11, I think.
Yep.
But I had a class, so I just was doing it.
Right.
I talked to mom because I knew mom.
Yeah, yeah. Never seen Kim.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Yeah, 'cause if I didn't see Kim at the office, I'd see her at the bank.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sorry, I didn't.
No, you're fine.
I don't know, I just made. me-
Next meeting?
Next meeting will be January 10th, 2024.
All right, so we're gonna start following that schedule, hopefully.
Yes.
I pinned it up.
All right, 6:30,
6:30 PM,
town hall,
town hall.
so we did differently.
We get kicked out.
No. Well, I found out the select board meeting is totally remote tonight. We could have used the town hall.
And the
Total
town-
remote.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I don't know.
Would have probably been longer there.
well, I think it's because of the Providence Street, well, not Providence Street, the Cemetery Street.
Oh,
debate.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah, about
making
cemetery,
it 2 ways.
making it two-way again.
Yeah,
That's not gonna make it that two-way?
Yeah,
well, yeah, because Robbins Road is closed. In order to go south, you have to go, to get back here, you have to go through Blackstone. Road is
washed away.
left away.
Oh, okay. I'm not down that, in the town now.
Don't go down there.
Yeah.
Well, it's happening next to Monday.
Because it's going,
Yeah. I saw a picture. Online. Half the road is,
Gone.
that's the spot.
yeah,
Okay.
Springbrook.
so it's gonna be closed for a while, yeah, it's gonna be closed for a while.
So where's the connection between that topic and meeting remotely versus meeting in
They're
person?
probably gonna have a lot of people, and probably knew that people weren't gonna fit in the,
I know they get that, yeah.
I have a cautionary.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I mean, you want to accommodate everybody, you want to give everybody an opportunity. So unless you have the ability to switch venues real quick.
And the conference room downstairs, next to Gene's office, now has the equipment inside the.
Okay.
oh, good, so we could do that.
Yep.
I don't know if I want to be in a fish tank.
The,
I'd like to be in a warmer spot.
and this is rather cool. Yes,
That's
We have to
great.
back them against the.
I'm sure they probably have it set to lower it.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
think
sure,
that, yeah.
And it's, you know, not here. I heard that room though was very, not that bad for us as we meet at nighttime. You can pretty much hear everything that goes on in that room from other offices.
Oh, yeah. There's no sound area.
No sound barrier at all.
And that whole thing is like, Kim, what? This is what?
That's it?
Anything else, folks?
No.
No,
Motion,
Motion to adjourn?
yep, second.
all in favor?
All right.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all very much.
Have wonderful holidays, my dears.
All of you
Yeah.
also.
Happy Festivus.
I just didn't want to be recording anyone.